year. So we called on two faith leaders for some perspective. Bishop Curry captivating the world with his sermon at the royal wedding in 2018, presiding over the funeral service of former Secretary of State Colin Powell earlier this month.
And Rabbi Sharon Brous blessed President Biden and Vice President Harris at the national inaugural prayer service. So we have two good folks for us this morning. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Rabbi Brous, let's start with you. You know, a lot of us have learned or have leaned on our faith to get through the pandemic. Are there any lessons that we should take with us? You know, so many people said, I'm not going to take it for granted again when I get back with my family. Or what lessons should we take with us as we try to get back to normal?
You know, it's such a time of vulnerability. I feel through this period that really the veil has been lifted. There's been so much loss that's been so profound, and I think there's a kind of recognition that none of us is really assured forever. So what are we supposed to do with that awareness of the fragility and the preciousness of life? And I really see that we're called to do two things. One, to hold gratitude, to just be immensely grateful for life itself, for our loved ones, for the frontline workers, for science, for our ability to move through this time as we have. And the second thing is to use this time, this new awareness, to get into right relationship with ourselves, with our families, with our society. So what does right relationship look like for Thanksgiving? It really starts with reckoning around our founding narratives and mythologies. I'm here in Los Angeles on Tongva land. That means recognizing that many Native and Indigenous people really see this not as a day of celebration, but as a day of mourning. It means reckoning with narratives of violence and displacement and erasure, and getting in sacred realignment, working toward a more just reality. We're also right now in this moment awaiting the verdict in the trial of the men who killed Ahmaud Arbery. So right relationship means recognizing the way that Black lives have been discounted and diminished and discarded, and telling a new story for America, a story of collective generation in which Black lives matter and every person is treated as an image of God. It feels like this is the perfect moment to hold our vulnerability as a call to live differently in the world than we have before.
And Bishop Curry, you recently shared that Thanksgiving really should be viewed in two parts. One part, of course, gratitude, that we know that, but what's the other part?
Well, you know, following in the train of my rabbi sister, Thanksgiving, if you look at it, there are two words, thanks and giving. One is an attitude, the other is an action. I remember years ago, I had a parishioner when I was a parish priest who actually stopped me at the door after a Thanksgiving service. And she said, ask me, isn't this a rather selfish occasion where we're just thankful for what we have, but others may not have? And I didn't give her an answer back then, so I can answer her now. Well, it may be if all I do is give thanks. If my thanks doesn't translate into both an attitude and actions, it may well just be selfish. But if it's actions that are involved in changing and touching lives and actually changing the world in such a way that we deal with the problems of our past and deal with our present and create a new future, then Thanksgiving is a celebration worthy of Thanksgiving.
You actually just inspired me in this moment to make sure that I do something with the family, with the kids on Thanksgiving, to do something where they give. That's a very good point for all of us. Rabbi Brous, we don't have a lot of time, but light is an important theme of Hanukkah, which starts on Sunday. And you said that the theme of light has a certain power when it comes to the winter holidays. What do you mean by that?
Well, really, our work is to mitigate against the darkness by bringing light. And it's no accident that so many of these winter holidays, including Hanukkah and Christmas and Kwanzaa, come at the darkest time of year when the nights are long and the days are short. And we bring light so that we can remember that we're to be the embodiment of light. And for us, as Jews, one of the central commands is really to publicize the miracle of Hanukkah, the miracle that happened to our people when we were saved. And so what we do is we put the light in the front window if we can. Sometimes people even put it outside their house in order to say that even though we've been through so much, that miracles are possible, that redemption is possible, and that every one of us can be the embodiment of that deep truth.
And Bishop Curry, we're almost out of time, but I just was wondering, for you, yourself, and Rabbi Brous then, what are you most thankful for this year? Bishop, we'll start with you.
You know what? I'm thankful, one, that I'm just alive. And at 68 years old, I'm just glad to be alive. but I'm also profoundly thankful for the fact that children are getting vaccines now. And while we haven't solved all of our problems, we haven't gotten vaccines around the world, and we need to be sharing our blessings as this great country that we are with others around the world so that the vaccines can protect them as well. But we've come a long way from where we were 1 year ago, and I'm thankful.
That's true.
Rabbi Brous?
Amen. I share your gratitude for that, Bishop Curry, and I'm so grateful that we've learned through this time that we do not need to assume that the world has to be the way that the world is. In an instant, everything turned upside down in the spring of 2020, and for those of us who've been fortunate enough to survive, we've got our imaginations stretched wide open before us now. We need to imagine a different way of living in this world. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to live into that dream and tell a new story for my family, for our country, and for the world.
My goodness,
Right.
so much food for
That's
thought
right.
there this morning.
And I want to know who plays foosball there at Rabbi Brous's.
I'm looking in the background there. Bishop Curry, Rabbi Brous, thank you. And happy Thanksgiving to both of you.
Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Well, I said food for thought. Coming up now from Foolproof